Hello and welcome to program number 2 in the current series of Art Out of Nature, Harrison's Cave, Barbados. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. In last week's program, we introduced the area and discussed its early history, the locals' knowledge, and its exploration. This week, the spotlight falls on its early development. Now, having been explored and seen its potential for development and commercialization, the explorers reported their findings to the Barbados National Trust, which assumed the responsibility for the natural and built heritage of Barbados.
They appreciated that the potential of Harrison's Cave to be the greatest cave system in the Caribbean was not something that the Trust could finance. And so, following Ole Sorensen's exploration and his detailed mapping and so on, the Trust was really acting as a catalyst, as a facilitator, and then as a negotiator with government. And so the real development of the cave and the work that had to be done after Sorensen, and incidentally, Sorensen and a gentleman called Tony Mason. Tony Mason was his local guide who worked with Sorensen in the whole mapping process. So eventually, after several years of discussion, the government approved its development.
But I think it was in 1970 that he got to go ahead to start developing the cave. And the first thing was the surveying of the cave, which we did.
The Trust took a back seat, and there was commissioned a team of experts in this area called Robert and Jan Gurney. Gurney like the gurneys in the hospital that take us up and down the corridors when we're ill. And they were the people who were responsible then for planning how the cave system would be developed, where the holes would be bored to create the tunnels into the cave.
Other than the natural entrance. And we picked this gully and started mapping out and drawing out and surveying. It was, I really tip my hat to him because, as you can see, the natural entrance is in a gully where the cave is below. And he did some wonderful readings and things like that to hit it.
He was very good. Technically, he was so good. He mapped out everything, and he knew exactly where tunnel had to be bored or dug until he got to that cavern. Then he would go from there. He knew where the other one was. He would bore from there to another cavern. Isn't that as a cave that you just walk through and that's it. It had to be well constructed because of the technical thing of it.
And this construction, more specifically this excavation, could be regarded as a modern engineering marvel for Barbados. Carefully mapped out, the tunnels had to be bored to create the passage. A call went out for men to work boring the tunnels. A tunnel boring machine, also known as a mole, is the equipment used to excavate tunnels. This machine typically consists of the rotating cutting wheel called a cutter head, followed by a main bearing, a thrust system, and a trailing support mechanism. This, however, was not the machine being used to bore the underground tunnels in Harrison's Cave.
Many people came to dig the tunnel. When they saw what they had to do, they said, not me, we're not going there. But this fellow, Noel Boyce, we call him Pompey, he said, man, yes, you could do this, man. Because Pompey is a very daring fellow. Because he used to ride on bridges and ride hard, things that we never did. Ride racers, you know, daring. And he said he would do it.
Knowing full well that they had a gentleman started at the time pushing really mar filling down here. And when he was called upon to cut him out of the cave, he said, if he give you all the money world, he turned it down. And this is a brave man from Westmore.
Pompey. To me, he was the Evel Knievel of Harrison's Cave. Tractor men came from all over the island. They wanted top on the tractor, they wanted seat belts, they wanted this, they wanted that.
And when they see what I had to do and even attempt with the bucket to touch, and it started dropping in, there was not me, and they would go home. But this day in question, I think it was a Friday, I saw this little short Noel Boyce, not knowing his name then, But they showed me with the gloves to hang over the bucket like a cowboy, and he was walking, he getting in the tractor.
I came down here and had a chat with the manager, and he showed me some work and asked me if I could handle it. I tell him that yes. And he tell me he would talk to my manager. I tell him he got to let me go across, let him move that quarry product. I got to go and talk to my manager. And when I get across there, the manager was telling me that the man out here, Sarson, called him. So right away, they put me on a Jeep and sent me across. Understand? 955 excavator. And he showed me where he want to do. And I went and prepared to start. And start.
Pompey took it on his own, as you have probably seen, to dig this tunnel out.
And he cut that tunnel as it is right now, and other parts of the cave.
I might not do it now. Might not do it now.
He was my hero then, I felt good to see, and I was watching him all the time. I even operated the same tractor after he had, I think, retired or left or something like that.
Now, you might ask, how do you bore a tunnel in the earth using a caterpillar?
He would use the bucket of the tractor, and he would hit and move back, until a hole was formed. But before that, a lot of stuff was falling all the time. But he was never scared, and he, along with a few other people, they got the hole done. But Sorensen was the mastermind of this whole thing. And we used to admire him for it.
Now, it was a tedious and laborious task, but Noel Boyce was the courageous man who moved the rock to please.
I get on the big rock first, and then I start to cut and get instructions from he was how to swing, and he went down. At a certain point, you take up stuff from a certain point and you reverse outside and load the truck. At a certain distance, I had to bring it out to the trucks. Well, on your way down, you figure it too far now. When I get further in, I make a position that the truck could reverse back down to me. I dig out somewhere here that I reverse back, and you reverse back in there, and the truck reverse down, and you come back here and load it, make sure you got sufficient room to load it. Like you load it, you go down now, you go down further, take it from down there, come back in here and load this truck.
Now, tons and tons of rock and rubble were removed from this cave as the tunnels took shape. Although the beauty of the cave now overshadows any thought of its excavation, if you were to consider the cubic centimeters of rock removed, the question would be asked, where was it dumped? Where is all of this today?
Well, the first part of the stuff, you drop it near around here. Drop it near around here. Because as I tell you, the other fellas had to be place clean off and things. But then it would be too much from here, and you had to send it certain places. Some people get it for them backyard and things, and put it in the yard.
They filled a couple quarries, and then they filled this place we call Buzzard. Buzzard was a name up here. We used to dread that, going close to Buzzard. Even passing by Buzzard, we would run because of what we used to hear about Buzzard and that kind of thing. But what happened, Buzzard was a kind of a cone-shaped sort of area in the earth, just on Sturgis up beyond the cone-shaped, and with a small hole, just as a cone, a small hole at the bottom. I remember a situation where my brother-in-law, Stanley Husbands, he had a lamb, and it went down on a ledge, and he tried to get it. In trying to get it, remember it's a He missed his footing and slipped and was going towards the hole in Buzzard. And that we know that would be the end of him. He happened to grab onto the river tambourine, and the river tambourine is very strong. He happened to grab onto that, to one of those trees, and that is what saved his life, as far as we're concerned. Another situation, another story, incidentally, his father before him, a cow happened to go down into the Buzzard, and he tried to get it. Some people, they let him down on the rope, and when he got down to the bottom, he said, I see no cow, but I see water. So water was flowing on the Buzzard. Tell me that this was a part of the system of the cave. Anyhow, what they did is plug the hole in Buzzard, plug it with cement, and then they filled it with stuff coming from Harrison's cave.
Now, let us go back to the actual tunneling. It is the early hours of the morning. While the island is deep in its slumber, Noel Boyce and the workmen are busy pressing ahead, making a way where there is absolutely no way.
I can't remember the date, but I can remember it was about 3 o'clock in the morning when Saracen had a man drilling inside the bucket with a drill hole. I got the hole up, and Saracen tell me how far he is from the cave, and he went round, and this fella drilled and passed, and he tap it, so he hear it. So he didn't tell me. Then when he come back round, then he tell me how far we got to go. So he just take it more later. I went there.
We were just about to butt into the big great hall, or the big room, as commonly known. It was commonly known to most of the workers. What was so amazing about it was that you're hearing the rushing water, but you still anticipating what was beyond the wall that was ahead of us. And I remember the night we butt into the great hall. There it was in its raw and natural state, all the formations crystal clear, and that was one of the greatest experiences that we had.
I think we was about 11 inches out from where the drill hole came through on that night. We had first bottle of champagne, and everybody was celebrating because we hit it on target.
Noel Boyce had successfully dug through the bedrock and reached the natural passageway of Harrison's cave. He had literally made a way for the world to see this underground natural phenomenon. This was no ordinary job. Little did he know that his courageous act would later bring the needed foreign exchange to Barbados. But how did he feel knowing that he had accomplished such feat?
I just feel good. I just feel good. Because I was hoping all the time to butt on this thing blunt there and not in the roof. Because if it got to be like that, if I got the butt in the roof, I might butt a rock too hard and I might got to put pressure on the tractor and down through the place it will come. Me and the tractor.
Thankfully, this did not occur. Noel Boyce was successful. The first stretch of the tunneling was completed, and the Great Hall was visible to all.
And there it started. We went and invite people from the area to come and see it in its natural state, and that's how it all started.
Wow. This was by no means an easy task. They had carefully bored through the hard rock and ended up on what remains a narrow strip of rock above the Great Hall with two very sharp drops on both sides. Now, having made that first breakthrough, literally that is, and seen the first cavern, now known as the Upper Great Hall, the tunneling continued underground to the other points of interest.
We went further on to the different areas, but all in all, this area really stands out, seeing the large area, the vast area that it was.
David Carrington, another local hero of the caves, speaks about the dexterity required then to perform the many tasks in the tunnels. In fact, today he looks back with laughter as he reconsiders the seriousness of the job he was so eager to perform on this narrow strip of rock.
No curves. There's a drop to the left, a drop to the right. But good luck for us, there were some self-made curbs because all the mud on the road and the wheels then would push some of the debris and the mud to this side and to this side. So if you wander a bit with the truck, the left wheel probably hit and knock you back over, and then you continue. But it's very, very frightening. Select your one gear, you come down snail pace.
Now, with flowing water and mud on this narrow strip of rock, one wonders how was David Carrington able to drive on such terrain?
The majority of times, brakes was a thing in the past because we did a lot of water and mud, not much brake. So all you can rely on is compression of the engine to keep you just going. And we had some signal lights at the top and just there by the village. So if you are by the village on your way out, and you see the red light is on, that means there's traffic in the tunnel. Now, if you're on the outside and you see the green light on, that means you're coming out. We used to call it heaven and hell. The red light was hell, boy, and the green light was heaven.
Bear in mind that trucks had to receive the rubble excavated by Noel Boyce as he made the passageway in the tunnel. How did workers like Pink's David Carrington conduct the necessary maneuvers in this narrow area?
This was one of the turning bays. So what we had to do, the tunnel now was actually a clear tunnel, right? So, but previously, Pompey, what he did then, he would load the tractor bucket, reverse out, dump. Then after the tunnel was finally constructed, this area here was a turning bay. We, the truck drivers then, had a challenge. And just imagine you reversing a truck from where we were at the roundabout to this bay. Now the tunnel is very narrow, so you can't stick your head in or out. You had to concentrate on steering, reversing from these two sides of the trucks. So it was a real tedious job.
And one performed by brave men. The tunneling continued and later exposed what is known today as the village. Having exposed the village, it led to the Rotunda room, and this was yet another challenging operation with at least one memorable experience for Noel Boyce.
But I can remember going up this hill, going up this grade, very big room up there. I remember going up, the water, they come in sore, but I was going sore. But I know it's in there, the water. And when I do something, pick sore, man, water fly in my chest, boy. Come cold water fly in my chest. The water, the running like that there. The same water that got the money down it, that come up out the kind of the hill there. And I picking, whoo. But it's just water.
Fresh, clean spring water. After that experience, Noel Boyce had made his way inside of another large cavern known today as the Rotunda Room.
You had enough stuff up there. You see that the roof, man, stuff enough dropped onto there, yeah? When it dropped, it's standing down here. You making this work. Yeah. When you're there in the cave and a pebble drop from that type of height, you could hear it from very far.
Now, the observant amongst the touring party would recognize what appears to be a lake leading away from the Rotunda Room. This is not a lake. It is evidence of the original plan to extend the tunnel beyond the Rotunda room. Noel Boyce explains.
Up in there started to fall. It is weak, like weak, yes. It has more mud. And you couldn't cut it, it's as wide as you do the rest. And he stopped me. Some stuff dropped down. I had the caterpillar cover up. Nearly. I had to take a good little time to clean it out.
David told me that one morning that they left the tractor. And when they got back the next morning, all they saw was the top. They had to cave in, and they had to dig out all of that stuff to get the tractor back in use.
But it's safe now. It's safe now.
Tony Mason, who explored the cave with Ole Sorensen, puts the original plan in perspective and details what the visitors would have seen if this area had been further developed.
Tunnel was cut out in order to extend the cave to the crystal section. Really was planning to use them as like how you was coming up the hill just now and see little pockets, because it going back to the Scotland district. So they decided that too much clay was involved in this area and they abandoned this. The few drops of calcite that you will get here, like for instance in this area, you see it look like a kind of powdery sand, that when you take your hand and do this, you see it? And this is because it's dropping in water and there's no formation to form stalagmites. So it would drop in the water and stand like this for years. It goes straight through and over into that section. But the original passage was this over here. You could get into that from here now, because it definitely gone right up, turn a little corner. But nobody that wasn't using it. So what we do is dam it off and let it be like a little mirror layer, right? But this over here was the original natural passage. Now you had to come through a lot of formation in here to get down here. But some of the formation in this area was removed, right? A lot of it was over here. And then you will crawl and come from this area right down. And this is where you tell you that there's a quarter mile more of cave that leading to Welsh Mahal Gully in small passages. And this is where you can find about 7 to 8 underground springs that supply in this water. So that's it in a nutshell. Okay. And it was a lot beautiful in this area at the time. Because the formation, as I see them now, I can tell you that they're discolored because of lack of water. If we should ever get water, we hope that it would turn back into the crystal formation. But it was like glass, beautiful. And I assume that the undeveloped part of the same area here what got them, like what I'm telling you. If I could have run up in there, I would want to bring and show you and see that it really is crystal. It really is crystal. Some shape like carrots and different things like that. So you go up through here and you crawl and you crawl and you crawl. A lot of crawling, very little walking in narrow places. And then you come to a little hole that up in the air like this, where you come into one bigger room than the Great Hall. I forget to mention this. This room is so enormous, and I can show you on the way going back down now, under the house that it is. It is one big, enormous room, and then it gets back small again in the other part, going over to the Hall Gully. But it's one massive, put the big room to look like a little piece. Really, I'm beautiful too, big and beautiful.
What the visitor sees today are the 5 original tunnels and points of interest. However, you would appreciate that this cave has great potential for expansion, thereby exposing other natural wonders. Tony Mason explains.
They were trained to hook the Rotunda room, which is a crystal section, 2 belts from Hall Gully, because I could take and show you the spot in Belchmont Hall Gully where the entrance is that leads right under the road and bring you into Harrison's Cave, up a stream on the map.
What is, however, worthy of note is that this area did serve a fundamental role during the tunneling, as David Carrington explains.
It still plays a part because if you travel here, there were some fans when we were doing the development, there were some fans placed on the surface. A shaft was dug coming into the tunnel. When you turn it on, then it brings in air. Then we also had extractor fans as well to send out any pollution, any smoke from the tractor or the vehicle that exhaust.
In addition to the fans that extracted the pollutants and maintained the air temperature of the cave, David Carrington speaks about a feature that gauges the water levels and acts as an early warning sign.
After you pass the village, making your way to the Rotunda room on your left, you will see a normal flow. It wouldn't overflow the ledge, as you would say, but when the volume of water increases, it starts to come through the two windows, then you know that the water level is rising, and you should monitor the situation carefully. And if there's any bad weather, any rain in the surrounding areas, probably St. John, St. Joseph, right? It might not be raining here at Harrison's Cave, but you can monitor and see the water level. If the water level in that area rises a bit slowly and, it starts to overflow the bank, you know it is bad weather somewhere in the surrounding areas. Then eventually it might start to fall here at Harrison's Cave. When that water level rises, you know it's time that, hey, we're going to abandon tours and we come out.
By now, you must have developed a greater appreciation of the work done by these courageous men, the true heroes of Harrison's Cave who moved the rock to please. In our next program, we shall continue with these courageous men. They will talk about the tunneling and the excavation. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. This has been Art Out of Nature, Harrison's Cave, Barbados.